The show starts out of control. Completely out of control. It's a train. It's off the rails. We started late. Deal with it. Because other hosts are boring. And you know it. Play with it, get it just right. R8RBEAR! Woo! Let's go! Rested and ready. That's a business I do tend to. Let's go! Put butts in them. Well, no, I'm not putting foots into too many. I'm putting foots into some of these analysts tonight, but that's about it. They're going to take some of this heat from the bear, because they were calling stuff and calling it wrong, and the bear called it right. Often imitated, never duplicated, that fool with no hair, that shouts like Rick, woo, the Raider Bear! Hush! What's up, fam? Welcome to the show. Appreciate you all tuning in. R8RBEAR 5. I derailed. R8RBEAR Live. Appreciate you all tuning in. Sorry I was off this week a little bit. I've been busy. Did I mention I was busy? But it was busy business stuff. So, and then legal stuff and stuff out of town I had to deal with. So it was crazy. But all dealt with. And I are back. But you notice, I'll be honest with you, some of that stuff, some of the stuff that's been happening, I wasn't even really willing to come on and go live about some of this stuff. I mean, the last few days, what's really happened? I mean, we had our second day of free agency. It went well. We're bringing in guys. We're re-signing guys. No, that's cool. You know what I mean? But it's not like we brought in Khalil Mack. You know what I mean? And we had this big story to tell. It's just rebuilding the team. But I like what we're seeing so far. And to be honest with you, I don't know how many of you noticed, but on R8RBEAR family page, which, if you would like and you consider it, just consider it. If you enjoy my entertainment, please consider a subscription to R8RBEAR family page. It's $5 a month, but you can cancel at any time. But you won't want to once you find out all the good we do with that money all over the world. And even with coins, subscribe to this, given to the show. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And YouTubers, if you're not on YouTube, watching my show, clicking like and all that stuff, come on, man. Come on, man. What's up with that? Okay, it's free. Okay, I'm done. Put foots in them. No, I'm not putting foots in my YouTube audience. Big wink. No, but seriously, I wasn't really tripping off too much of what we've done, other than to say I thought it was pretty good. Pro Football Focus gave us a B+. I gave us a B-. I thought that was pretty good. That they matched my grade. It just shows that how I see football and how they see football are similar. So you can trust as a viewer of my show that I kind of know what I'm talking about. And that's the only reason I bring that up. Not to pat myself on the back, although I already have somewhat. It's more so that you understand that I bring you the skinny. So we have some information about a linebacker that's very interesting. I don't think most of the other shows have been covering this, so I'm going to cover it because I think it's super interesting. And as usual, I think that a lot of these guys that cover Raider football and on their various shows, they tend to miss the actual news because they go to cover the news they've already seen. And so to me, I don't just cover the news I've already seen. Of course, I mean, I'll mention it if we pick up a guy or something like that. You get a new quarterback in Geno Smith, you bring it up. But that's not breaking news. So what I think is breaking news is the fact that we lost our middle linebacker, Robert Spillane, and we lost him when a lot of the fans were upset because we were just starting our moves. We hadn't really gotten into the depth of our moves yet. And so, we didn't have Geno Smith yet, and we lost Robert Spillane. Not that a linebacker has anything to do with a quarterback, but it's still a name guy. And by losing Spillane, who was your leading tackler, that's always going to shake up and upset, hold on. Sorry, I just had to turn that off. But that's going to upset a certain amount of your fan base because you're losing your best defensive player. Now, to me, that's arguable, whether he's the best, obviously Max Crosby. But he did lead the team in tackles. Now, I would argue the leading the team in tackles was a direct result of the better play that we had on the defensive line. Now, I'm not trying to take anything from Robert Spillane. When we got Robert Spillane, I know most of you will remember that I reported immediately that this was a get, that this guy can ball, and we're going to be good. And we were. He was great, and everybody fell in love with the guy. Now, I can report the same thing, though, about Orlando Robertson. He's going to be nice. That's the kid we brought up to replace Robert Spillane. Now, with that being done, you still have one other linebacker spot that has to be straightened out with Divine Diablo having left. And that's a fairly big, hole to fill because we all know Divine Diablo. He was homegrown. We grabbed him. We nurtured him, grew him from an average player, kind of took a guy that was kind of a big safety, small linebacker and beefed him up a little bit and went through his learning curve. And then he was actually starting to become quite a player for us last year. And so to see him leave now, is unfortunate. But what we're looking at right now is a young man named Christian Ellis. Now, Christian Ellis plays for the Patriots. So even though we gave them, or even though they got Spillane from us, it's looking like we may take a linebacker from them. Now, they have this kid, and in 2004, just last year, he had 80 tackles, 2 sacks, an interception, and a forced fumble. Now, that might not sound fantastic, but it's pretty good for a guy that had no history. In other words, he was coming from practice squad, traded from another team. He wasn't even picked up when he came out in his draft. He was an undrafted free agent. And then he bounced around a little bit. Then he got onto special teams. And then the Patriots said, hey, you know what? We have a need at linebacker. What do we got? And they found this kid and said, all right, let's give him a shot. Bring him up. And then he played. And that 80 tackles was not a full season. So he showed improved and looked great. Young kid. His father, Luther Ellis, actually played in the NFL back in the day for the Detroit Lions, so there's also pedigree there. And I don't know how many of you agree with this. I know some will and some won't, but I've always been a pedigree guy. I love guys that have dads and uncles and grandfathers that played in the league because just like with Troy Polamalu, okay, and our kid, Polamalu, that there's a connection there with a legend. Usually when you have that, that means the kid was growing up his whole life listening to that guy talk football. Himself going through junior high school and high school all day, every day, thinking, I'm going to be in the NFL one day. See, kids like that tend to pan out. So I'd like to see this. I think this would be very good. Now, the reason I say I'd like to is because it's not a done deal. Now, we've made him a waiver offer, and it's big. And that's the reason why we think we're going to get him, because the Patriots right now are in the process of a rebuild just like we are, but their rebuild is one of the worst rebuilds you can go through. It's a rebuild where you tried to do a soft rebuild first. When you try to do a soft rebuild first, and first, just to explain anyone that might not understand what that means, a soft rebuild just basically means instead of blowing up the team and getting rid of everyone, you just get rid of a couple guys here and there, you replace a couple of crucial, parts to the team, wide receiver, running back, quarterback, wide receiver, somewhere in that range. Those kind of players, skill position guys, and then you make a run to see if you can do it again. Now, I would be lying if I said that works. I don't think that works. I think like the 9 years that we had with Derek Carr, to me, was just an on-the-fly rebuild, just a constant on-the-fly rebuild. Because did we ever really establish that Derek Carr is a starter? See, in my opinion, we didn't do that. We can all go back and forth as Raider fans arguing about whether you like Derek Carr, don't like Derek Carr. Don't do that with me, because that's not what it's about. It's not about whether I like the guy or not. He's a nice guy, okay? God-fearing, good with his wife and his kids, so on and so forth. But, and he brought respect to our name, let's be honest, okay? He was a quality guy on and off the field. He just was, you know what I mean? But was he a starter? I think the answer is no. And I think we see that now when he's a veteran. He's got every, available tool you can have to a veteran quarterback. He's been around. He's signed contracts. He's had injuries and come back from them. He's been the leader. He's lost his job and won the job. He's done it. He's done it all. He has every sort of experience that you could have at at the NFL level at this point. Then he goes to the Saints, and not only was he not good for the Saints, he got into fights in the locker room his first season there within, I want to say, 4 games. I think it was the 3rd or 4th game. But literally the center, okay, probably the most important guy on the field to the quarterback. Okay, this is your ball snapper. This is the guy calling out your protections. And Derek Carr got into a fight with him. I mean, a physical fight, throwing blows once on camera during a game. And see, to me, that should be impossible. That should just be impossible. Even as the quarterback, if you don't like the center, don't like him. But if you're getting to the point where you can say something to him that he's willing to throw blows with a guy that's $100 million player on the team, and he's not worried about his position on the team, he just wants to knock your teeth out, you really got to say some things to risk your position on the team to punch the starting quarterback. I'm just saying. So anyway, now look at the stability we have. We bring in Pete Carroll. He brings in Spytek, someone that are minority owner Tom Brad. What his face. I don't even like saying anything. I was thinking about how to insult him, and I just gave up. But old Tommy B, he liked Spytek. He saw Spytek firsthand. Remember, when he was leaving the Patriots, he'd already been with the Patriots for like 10, 12, 15 years, something like that. So when he left, this was his first occasion to get to know what it was like to join a new team and be the guy. And so it was pretty interesting that he would come here and immediately poach Spytek from the Buccaneers. I thought that was smart. I thought that was smart. Okay, sorry guys. I know I was muted there for a second. But you could say you could say Tom Brady is 1 and 2 out of 3 major moves he's been involved in. Trying to get the coach, failed. Tried to get a quarterback, failed, because he reached out and was trying to lure one of these quarterbacks over here and failed. And then now with this, and he goes with Spytek, and that one worked out. In my opinion, I personally already like the kid. I really do. I need to see his draft to be sure about him, obviously, but I like the kid. I like how he does things. I like how he is professionally. And anyone that Pete Carroll likes this much when Pete Carroll's been in the game this long, I'm kind of on board with too. You got to remember, Pete Carroll's a wily guy, man. Everyone knows who he is. He's just a really skilled, wily kind of guy. So, one of the other things I wanted to bring up, too, is just and I just want to say this real quick. All right, $2. Hold on, I got to get on to $2 comment. Bear, you can't say that about Carr fighting his center, because if that's your stance on Carr, then what about when Peyton Manning and Jeff Saturday got into it during a live game on the sidelines? Okay, $2, you're comparing Derek Carr to Peyton Manning. I feel like you've already lost this. No disrespect. You see I'm laughing. But no, man. Yes, I can make that point. And your point is terrible. Okay, find another instance where a quarterback is fighting with one of his own players when he just got there. Because remember, that's what happened with Derek, not with Peyton. Peyton had been with Saturday for a long time. You're going to have fights in football games virtually every day, but with teammates and opposing teams. It's just part of the game. But not usually with your quarterback, and not usually when he just got there, and not when he hasn't worn out his welcome already. In other words, he had just gotten there. They were just starting the season with him, and he's already got his center breathing down his neck. I just thought that was bad. But $2, welcome to the show. I hope you enjoy the show. Please consider a subscription either on YouTube or Facebook if you enjoy my content. You clearly did not enjoy that part of my content. But just know I got respect for you, brother. And you will notice that most of these shows that you watch, they do not address their audience. They do not answer their audience questions. Almost every one of these other Raider hosts, they come on with recordings. They don't come on live. I come on live, I give you my opinion, then we go back and forth. And if you don't agree with what I'm saying, I got you. Joe Holman, what's up? Good to see you back, brother. Is the season we cut Spillane lost because he wanted more money than we were willing to pay? And if so, do you know the dollar difference? Okay, no, Joe, I do not know the dollar difference. I just know that it was more than we were willing to pay. For example, the linebacker that we just picked up from Pittsburgh, Landon Robertson, he's getting $10 million. You know what I mean? And a lot of these other guys, they're on $10 million. Malcolm Kuntz, 1 year, I think it's $12 million. You know what I mean? And we'll talk about that in a minute because I have something interesting to bring up with the Malcolm Kuntz thing. Could be good, could be bad. I personally think it's bad, but we'll see. And good to see you back, Joe. I appreciate that. Anna Diaz Rincon. What's up, love? Welcome to the show. Always there for R8RBEAR. My first subscriber ever. Anna Diaz Rincon. Love you, girl. Mark Vargas, you were in first place. I didn't even do my medal round today because I was kind of excited to talk about the topics we had because I think this linebacker is going to be nice for us, and I think we're going to get him because I already said this, but I just think the Patriots aren't going to want to match what we offered him. And I can't tell you exactly what we offered him. All I was able to find, I read 2 articles about it, and both reporters said, and I quote, the offer sheet the Raiders signed Christian Ellis to was too much for the Patriots, considering what they have left to pay and potentially pay other guys in free agency and so on. So there's the idea that they'll let him slip through the cracks. And then also you got to understand, I'm excited about this kid. I'm, with my eyes, looking at how he played last year, I'm prospecting that he's going to be a good pro. But his resume doesn't say that, though. His resume for one season says that, but every season prior to that, it was, special teams this and, special teams that, but he wasn't even given an opportunity to be seen enough to know whether he's going to be good, except here. I've seen enough video, saw a little bit from him in college. He's going to be good. And he was just one of those guys that fell through the cracks because, he didn't have the contract and the kind of contract name that allows the team to put you out there. Troy Gillen reporting the new stuff. Hi, sweetheart. Give it up. Oh, daddy's baby. Daddy baby. If you guys ever ask me what is the greatest thing I ever made, you're looking at it.
Here, let me use one of your shirts or your hats here. I gotta cover my shirt.
Oh, no, they can see that. She's wearing a bathing suit or whatever. I don't care. Show them how good. I gotta go the other way. Okay, there we go. Now you gotta come the other way. There you go. Offset. Dragon Ball Z fans in the house.
Coffee and everything.
Tony Shepard right back at you, Raider Freaking Nation. That would be excellent. You know what? But I want it. I take that back. But I want it in my new Raiders cup that my friend got for me. Ooh. Steven Shaw, who I'm sure is watching. What's up, Steven? Hi, Mrs. Shaw. All right. Let me see. I'm talking about overall point of a quarterback and a center fighting, not comparing Carr and Manning. Skill level, just the altercation. Okay, $2. You're right. I don't want to argue about that. You're right. Guys get into fights. I just thought that was a special circumstance. That's all. It felt like Derek had only been there for 5 minutes. You know what I mean? How could he possibly have done something that would make one of his offensive linemen want to strike him when you consider the kind of trouble that could put the offensive lineman in when you just hit their starting quarterback? You see what I'm saying? It can get you kicked off the team, thrown off the team real quick. I've seen it happen to lots of other players. In fact, it happened with our quarterback, Geno Smith. When he was in the locker room, he got into an altercation because he agreed to go to a sporting event for one of his teammates who happened to be a linebacker himself, and Geno didn't go. And it cost that particular linebacker a lot of money because he paid for a limo and plane tickets and all this other stuff. So they go back to the locker room. He runs into Geno Smith and confronts him about it. And Geno Smith looks him up and down like he's a punk and says, don't, this should not reflect poorly on Geno Smith. This was years ago, okay? He's grown a lot since then. He has. But At that point in his career, that linebacker came across Geno Smith's face because Geno looked at him and said, "Don't embarrass me in the locker room, bringing up money you say I owe you and all this other nonsense. I'll go when I'll go, or I'll get it back to you or whatever when I do it, but don't try to embarrass me." And the linebacker was like, "What?" Because he was already mad because he was out of all that money. And to be honest with you, it was an event for kids. It was a type of football camp for kids. And so Geno really did kind of mess him up, and he stood him up, and he just didn't show up when he was telling everyone that we're going to have this pro quarterback there. So he let the kids down, in effect. You know what I mean? And I'm sure the kids will get over it and all that other stuff. But, you know, I would be pretty pissed if I started an event for kids and I said this football player is going to be there and then he just doesn't show. I don't know if I'd have come across his jaw. You know, no matter who he was, even if I thought I could beat him up or whatever, you know, that was too much, you know, because from what I understand, and I'm pretty sure this is correct, Geno Smith just looked at the guy and said, "Why are you bringing this up with me here in the locker room? You know what I mean? What are we doing?" And then the guy just blew him up. Yes, Tony Shepard, there is news on a wide receiver. We are trying to talk to. Oh, damn, I don't have his name here. I thought I wrote his name down before the show. We're trying to steal a wide receiver from the Steelers. They've got a guy, I think it's Tiggs, something like that. Please excuse me, I'm so professional. But we are after that wide receiver. He is nice. It would be a good move, you know what I mean, if we pull this kid. And from what I understand, we're in offer sheet situation with him, too. So it may happen. The Tay Diggs thing didn't happen. They're saying Tay Diggs is probably going to end up competing against us with the Chargers. If that happens, that sucks because I still think that guy's got gas. You know what I mean? You can say what you want about he's older now. I think he's 31, but in today's day and age, 31 is the new 21. Wait, come on, I'll be 2 for 2. You're no fun at all, Mama Bear. That's not true. You know how long I've been married? You can't be married as long as I have with someone that's not fun. Mark Vargas! Appreciate the love for Little Cub. There's Steven. Steven Shaw! Appreciate the love. Oh, wait, Steven. I was using this cool cup. I don't know if you were here when you heard me getting it loaded. Loaded? Look, I went and got me some coffee. She's so sweet. She's so sweet. No, we have not signed Lockett yet, Mark Vargas, but the market for Lockett is small. And from what everyone's saying, he's going to get the most money from Pete Carroll. And we're not going to pay him some huge contract. So that tells you where Lockett's at. Lockett's an older guy. You know what I mean? He's been around a little bit. Not around the league, but I mean he's been in some games. Remember that he was with he was with Seattle when they were the Legion of Boom and winning ring. I was going to say rings, but it was ring because of a terrible call by the very coach we hired. I'm a little bit concerned about that part. It was Pete Carroll who didn't let Marshawn Lynch run across the finish line to win the Super Bowl and instead called a pass play that ended up losing it for them. Yeah, said we just brought in a linebacker for $10 million. Spillane signed 3 years for $11 million per year. I don't know if that was the wisest move. You know what? No, it wasn't. Because although I like Spillane, I did say just a moment ago, I really did feel like Spillane was going to be good. But the fact that he led the team in tackles, see, to me, that was too good, right? He wasn't looked at by anyone to be that good. You know what I mean? Not even the team that lost him to us. And so I saw Spillane as good, but I did not, like a lot of other Raider fans, see him as indispensable. Not to mention, guys, I mean, come on. I mean, that guy Riley at linebacker that we had for a couple seasons, let him go. Patrick Navarro had him for a couple seasons. The kid we got from the Niners, he had bad knees, but he played great for us for 2 seasons. Then we let him go. You know, and now Spillane, couple seasons, plays good. We let him go, but I don't feel like he's irreplaceable. I feel like the Landon Robertson, the guy we brought in, is better anyway. I really do. I think he's better anyway. I think he's a better linebacker. I just think that he needs to get minutes with us, and when he gets minutes with us, he's going to do the same thing Spillane did. He's going to pop off the television Because guys like Jenkins in our middle, okay, Max Crosby, Malcolm Kuntz, who I'm surprised we brought back, but I'm not that surprised we brought him back. Now, here's the Malcolm Kuntz thing. I'll just say it, and then if you guys have a question about it, we can go into that. I don't think Malcolm Kuntz was willing to bet on himself, because there are analysts that are saying had he gone out to free agency and tested the market, he would have gotten $24 million a year, at least 20 to $24 million a year. We signed him for 12, and he was willing to take that. I think that's because he was concerned about what the market was saying to his agent. So he came back to us on a prove it deal. And I think he's going to be able to prove it because Max is going to give him every opportunity he needs. And the middle is solid. And we've already re-signed the Butler boys. Matthew and Adam Butler are both back. So the middle's going to be solid. The defense is getting better. And could we be any more excited than about Jeremy Chin? Oh my God. I tell everyone that's watching my show right now, you've heard about Jeremy Chin. Okay, you've heard that the safety can play. You've heard that he's going to be good for us. Go watch the tape. Just go to YouTube and just put Jeremy Chin and watch what happens. Bang, bang, bang. Violence happens quickly without weapons. It's just him flying through the air. Dude is an assault artist. He nails guys. And I got to be honest with you, he's probably the best hitter I've seen in a while. I'm serious, and that's a big statement for me. I watch a lot of football all these years. This is my 10th year podcasting. I don't think I've ever said that. But he has one of the best technique thumps I've ever seen. Now, what do I mean by that? What I mean is usually when a guy really lays another guy out, they have to be a little bit dirty. Sometimes they'll drop their helmet or they'll throw a forearm or whatever the case may be because angles change and guys try not to get hit hard and then you have to change at the last minute. Jeremy Chin has shown an art form for taking this part of his shoulder and impaling you. I haven't seen a guy knock that many balls loose just from what looks like a normal tackle. He just does a normal form tackle, but he throws all of himself into them. He drills guys, and I realize I'm not saying anything most of you have heard. The Jeremy Chin pickup has been lauded by everyone, saying the Raiders made a great move. That guy's going to be a bigger star than he already is. He is a star, but he's actually growing. We caught him in the middle of his growing. This guy's going to be even better. And for us, I think this guy, I'm going to go out there. I don't know if they're going to treat him like Max and really pay him. I think Jeremy Chin could be a Hall of Famer. I really do. I think Jeremy Chin could be a Hall of Famer. If we get him, he's going to play that well. But are we going to re-sign him? That's the thing. I think if we re-sign him and he's just allowed to finish the rest of what we have right now of his career, because he's in his 20s, if we can get this part of his career to the end, he's Hall of Famer. He'll be a Hall of Famer. It helps that he's got this logo, so that's going to make people talk about it. But his play is going to carry him to it, and then people are going to start to whisper, hey, this guy's HOF. Looking at Amari Cooper and Keenan Allen and the top wide receiver in the draft, McMillan. Cooper is already going to, I believe, the Chargers. Keenan Allen, I'm not sure where he went. And you're saying in the draft, McMillan. Okay. So Gino and Carr are instigators. Tough guys now. Have much respect there. Well, $2 too. That's if you consider instigating throwing your chin at someone's fists. I'll beat you up with this chin, fool. Don't you argue with me. Ben Diaz, what's up, brother? Welcome to the show. Bob Standard, always there for Raider Bear. Yeah, it was T. Higgins, Mark Vargas, and yes, Bob Standard, I like the Tyler Lockett move. The reason I do is because if this was Tyler Lockett coming into another quarterback, I wouldn't like it. But we have to remember, Geno Smith just spent the better part of his last couple seasons with the Seahawks getting a rhythm with Lockett. And if you notice, Lockett's production, although it isn't like it was when he was younger, it's still been good because he developed a rapport with Geno Smith. So now bringing them to the Raiders with Geno Smith, you can see what I'm trying to say. It's like on a scale of 1 to 10, if Tyler Lockett only was a 5 at this point, let's say he was an 8 when he was at his best, okay? And he's gotten older, now he's a 5 or a 6. Let's say it's because he got injured or something like that. By rejoining his quarterback on a new team, he goes from a 5 to a 6 or a 7 automatically because his quarterback's going to hit him on slants, he's going to hit him on stop and goes and hook routes, and he's going to have his timing right down with him. And they're going to understand each other. They have that, you know what I'm talking about. Male or female, you know what I'm talking about when I say, whenever you've played any sport, I don't care if it's any team sport, there are times when you can look at your teammate and you just know what they're thinking, you know what they're going to do, and you know it in a split second. You can just look and know that they're going to throw you the alley-oop, and you run to the hoop and jump, and they throw it. You didn't talk, you didn't signal each other, nothing. You just played with each other enough that you know when I do this and I spin off this guy's shoulder, you better throw the ball up quick because I'm going to go get it. That kind of chemistry. He has that with this guy. So it'll be good with Tyler Lockett, and I think the Tyler Lockett deal is going to get done. The only reason I'm saying that is because we don't have any challengers. We don't have any competition. Nobody's going to fight us for Tyler Lockett at this point. He's a good little wide receiver, but there's 100 guys that you could get that are just good little wide receivers. But with Geno Smith, he's still a weapon. I heard we may be trying to bring in Pickens from the Steelers. Yes, Tanamoku, that is, it's similar to the situation with the linebacker that we're bringing in from the Patriots. We're going to try to overwhelm the Steelers with an offer they can't refuse. Now, does Higgins deserve some huge? No. It'll probably be like one of our 4s or 5s. Maybe the Raiders will go high just to make sure we get him and give him one of our 3s or something like that. That's too high to me, but we'll see. Mark Vargas said 7.7 mil for Lockett. Doesn't that sound right though? I mean, you're a veteran guy, $7 million, and it's less than the standard 10 that most of the veterans that are getting on 1-year deals. So I like it. Yes, Ramiro Castro, it was Navarro Bowman. Really liked that guy. That was one of the ones when we let go of that middle linebacker. I kind of looked at the team and I just kind of scratched my head, you know what I mean? I don't know how many of you remember this, but Navarro Bowman had already played 2 seasons for us. Looked really good. Made tackles, got pressure on quarterbacks, interceptions, forced fumbles. He had it all. And then it was reported that, he had knee problems, and he did, but he was one of those athletes that understood his diet, understood conditioning, worked with the Raiders roster strength and conditioning coach, which I'm reporting because I reported it back then. And with their strength and conditioning coach, he was getting to places up here and physically that he hadn't been before with the Niners. With the Niners, he was just an animal. He would just crush guys. Well, once he started to get the knee damage and the Niners gave up on him and he was realizing he was getting older, he started changing everything about himself. He lost 10 pounds, but just of sheer weight, grinding his body down to ultimate muscle. I saw him doing these slide workouts, making his legs stronger, and he was just pouring down sweat, and he was running and doing all these things, trying to convince the Raiders to bring him back, and still didn't bring him back. I couldn't believe it. Mark Kuntz didn't want to leave the Raiders, but I think he didn't want to leave the Raiders because he was afraid of what he was going to see in the market. And I'm just reporting that because I feel strongly about that. I don't think Malcolm Kuntz is like, I just have to be a Raider. I don't believe that. He only had 1/2 of a show-out season with us. That's it. So if he went out into free agency and said, yeah, you should give me a big deal, I just don't think he was going to get it. And so I think that he wanted this deal with the Raiders, but for the right reasons. Not just because he wants to be a Raider, but because he wants to improve his value. If he goes out there now and has a whole season, gives you 10, 12 sacks, it's over. Now the Raiders are either going to have to, come way up and pay him or let him go to free agency and get paid by someone else, which I think will happen. Steven Shaw! Appreciate the love on the stars, brother. Always trying to entertain Raider Nation. I would really like to see Marshawn Lynch come out of retirement. That would be amazing, Corinna, but I don't really know what he has now. You have to understand, when a guy retires, especially when it's been more than 1 year, a man's body starts to settle. Okay, now what I mean by that is the injuries are starting to heal, old pain is starting to go away, soreness. So they start to feel like, yeah, I can still go, and they can't. Their body's just transitioning to relaxing. Now trying to get back up to NFL. There's a difference between being in shape and being in NFL shape. I don't think he can reach that anymore, and I think even he would say that to you. You know what I mean? Tim, what's up, man? Welcome to the show. Do you think Gino will get handed the starting job, or will AOC have a chance to compete for it? They will say that he has a chance, but he doesn't. Pete Carroll's going to want to rock with the guy that brought him there. And you can't just do something with a young quarterback that's on your roster that still holds value. Like, you can't just cut him. You can't just offer him for a deal. You got to see what you can get for him. So, to me, AOC's value is good. It's not high, but it's not low either. He didn't really have any self-destructs, except in the season with Josh McDaniels, when Josh McDaniels put him out there and he fumbled twice and threw 2 interceptions. A 2-2 fumbles interceptions turnover game for him. That's not okay. Now, fast forward, he had a decent season last year. He showed he could command the team a little bit. I would like to see him, go to the bench. And then if Gino gets hurt, you bring him back out, and then he has a chance to show and prove. But even if Gino plays badly, we can't call for AOC. As much as I love him, I called for him to be drafted. I was right. The Raiders picked him up. I said every scout said this guy's going to be a dark horse. And I'm telling you, no matter what happens with AOC, he's either going to be a winner here or he's going to be a winner somewhere else. I'm telling you. AOC is going to be a winner, and I'm going to keep saying it until it happens, because when it does, I want no one to forget that I told you from jump, coming out of school, that guy was going to be a winner. And I don't care what you've seen of him so far as a Raider. That dude's going to win. Wilkins freed up a bunch of cap space. Wonder if that is clearing up for Gino and a wide receiver. Gino was throwing to Stephon Diggs over the offseason. Yeah, but I don't think they're going to want to give Stephon the money. You know what I mean? That's the problem. That we're in a rebuild ourselves, but this isn't a soft one, even if Pete Carroll's saying that. Pete Carroll's saying that, but it's not when you're making this kind of overhaul to both re-sign and bring in a new quarterback and bring in all these guys. So it's definitely a rebuild, but he's calling it a soft rebuild because he thinks he can win right now. Raider DeVilliers said, number 6 is too high for Gene T. I don't see him at the caliber of a Saquon Barkley or an Adrian Peterson. I'm not sure if he's even Zeke. Whoa! Jeez, man. Zeke's already proven to be a little bit of a bust. What are you talking about? I mean, are we talking about the same guy? The guy we have on the roster that last year, and he's got the bad Achilles in both legs? Zamir White, Zamir White's not long for this roster. He's gone. And it's not necessarily because of how he's played or his injury history, but he's not looking like he's going to pan. He's going to need money because he's coming out of that rookie deal soon, or, a fifth-year option, whatever. So they're going to probably let him go or trade him, whatever they have to do. But you're right, he's not the guy. Now, fast forward, let me go back to what you were saying, Raider. DeVillian, and what's up, brother? Good to see you. It normally would be too high at 6. I agree with you. But I don't agree with you that he couldn't be a Saquon Barkley. I don't agree with you there. Now, the only reason I say that is because Saquon Barkley, to me, is one of a kind. Extremely rare athlete. Adrian Peterson, one of a kind, extremely rare athlete. Now, I can't go as far as to say that about Genty yet, but Raider DeVillian, you're handicapping the argument, because I can't say Genty's as strong as those guys. I can't go off anything he's done in college. Anything a guy does in college is just a blueprint of what he could do in the NFL. It doesn't mean he will do it. It just means he could. It means he's shown enough skill and capability at the younger levels, high school, college, to then come up and potentially work with coaches and be good enough to make it in the NFL. So having said all that, I will say this. I think after looking at Gene T, I think he is a franchise running back. And I think we had one in Josh Jacobs. So people say, well, why didn't we just pay Josh Jacobs? Because you would have had to pay him the super contract when we can go into free agency, or excuse me, not free agency, the draft, and get the best, potentially one of the best running backs, or what we scout as one of the best running backs. Bring that guy in, and then he'll do his due, or he won't. I personally think this guy is not a bust. Not when it's the best running back. Now, we do have one guy, that guy Richardson that we drafted a few years ago that was like Hercules, and he was playing running back, and he was like one of the heaviest lifting running backs anyone had ever seen. I think he squatted like 800 pounds when he was like 19 or something like that. And then he came into the league with us, and he was horrible. He was terrible. And so, yes, you can have high bust potential quarterbacks, wide receivers, running backs in that order. Highest bust potential with the greatest amount of loss financially is quarterbacks, wide receivers, running backs. But I like GT's character. I like his pedigree. I just think you got to go. If you've got him and he's there, you got to go. Now, GT's going to come off the board at 6. If he's there, he's coming off the board at 6. I've already said this many times. I'll keep saying it. If Genty's on the board at 6, he's coming off the board and he's going to the Raiders. I don't know if you agree with that. I don't know if other people agree with that, but I'm just letting you know, if he's there, he's coming off the board. There's no doubt about it. Now, if he's not on the if he's on the board and one of the quarterbacks we like is still on the board, because don't forget the quarterback class in this year has been considered to be, overrated, weak at best. And if that's the case, you're going to see someone like, who could I go? Well, okay, the whole Jackson Dart thing. If Jackson Dart is still there at 6, he's gone. He's coming home. He's coming to the Raiders. You know what I mean? But there's a very good chance he'll be there, because although we've all been talking ourselves, like crazy into this hurricane that we all do every single year, I'm used to it. Every single year when the draft's getting close, we start elevating guys to a point higher than anyone else thinks they are. As fans. We're all going nuts about Jackson Dart because the scouts are going nuts and they're talking about it on ESPN and so on and so forth. But that doesn't make him suddenly better than Cam Ward, better than Shedeur Sanders, better than Milroe, whoever else, Jalen Milroe, whatever else. But there was something interesting that happened. Jalen Milroe has been consistently considered the third best quarterback in this draft in the last 2 days. I'm breaking news with you here, probably, because I haven't seen this covered very much. But in the last 2 days, Jalen Milroe has actually been moved down from 3rd to 5th. Okay? Jackson Dart was 5th. He skipped 4th. They moved him all the way to 3rd. So now it's Cam Ward, which most of us agree. Shedeur Sanders, which none of us agree. Okay? And then Jackson Dart, who jumps up the board. And at number 4, the Bears, this year's Bear dark horse, Quinn Ewers, Texas. Now, people are going to say that's not a dark horse because he's the 4th ranked quarterback. Everyone knows he's good. Everyone saw him. He has an 84.0 rating on, what was that page again? I'm looking at it now. On NFLDraftBuzz.com. That's NFLDraftBuzz.com. I recommend you go look at it because it gives you the ratings for positions and everything else, but it's like dummy proof. It's not like these other sites where it takes you 20 minutes to go click, 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 and try to find everything. With this site, it's like, I want to see who's best at this for this year, this position, click, and you got it in seconds. I use it on the show all the time to discuss things with you. Okay, now moving forward. For Quinn Ewers to hold 4th, and they didn't give Jalen Milroe 4th. They moved him from 3rd to 5th and skipped him over Quinn Ewers. I was shocked by that, especially this close to the draft. But, all right. But if Jackson Dart's there at 6, probably pull the trigger. If Quinn Ewers is there at 6, I'd consider it. I would. Now, there's no way all these... Okay, so Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, Jackson Dart, and Quinn Ewers, and Jalen Milroe. One of those top 5 guys is going to be there at 6. But Ashton Genty's going to be there too. That's the quorum. And we have AOC. We've already got a guy that's still in his rookie deal. We just signed a veteran in Geno Smith. Now if you go looking for a quarterback at 6, you're kind of wasting a roster spot, because is a guy from college that we're pretty much guaranteeing we're going to make him the 3rd guy just to secure a guy. I mean, if we knew the guy was going to be a legend or he's going to be a Hall of Famer, sure. Get him, secure the bag, give him the bag, and let's go. But None of these guys are that. Tanamoku, Mark Vargas, I don't think that's unfinished business. I think Kuntz just knew the writing on the wall. He was going to have more on his resume before he was going to get that kind of money. Rare DeVillian, I agree with that. AOC would not have beaten out Geno Smith. I might be biased because in both high school and college, I played both defensive end and linebacker. In keeping with what you keep saying about Pete Carroll's old Legion of Boom, I would like to see them trade up and do whatever it takes to snag Abdul Carter. Well, Joe, first off, Abdul Carter is going to be a defensive end, though. That's not a defensive tackle. I'm just giving you a hard time. No, I'm kidding. I love the idea of Abdul Carter, but I got to be honest with you, I think he's going to be the number 1 pick. And if he's not the number 1 pick, he'll be the number 2 pick. And all this stuff about Travis Hunter, some of this is smoke and mirrors, guys. I'm telling you. I'm not trying to devalue Travis Hunter. I'm just simply saying to you, not all of these guys can go in the top 5. There's going to be guys that fall to us at 6, and it's going to be a hard decision to make, man. It's going to be hard because there's going to be some names at 6, and it's going to be tough. But I know this much. It better be Brock Bowers-like. Because let's be honest, that last pick, we pick up Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers is Hall of Fame. You can say it right now. Brock Bowers is a Hall of Famer. Outside of injuries, Brock Bowers is a Hall of Famer. How do you know this? Because he came in his rookie season and looked like a veteran, put up numbers like a veteran, set rookie records for tight ends at veteran with all the legends we've had over the years at tight end. That guy just broke a dozen records for tight ends as a rookie. Hall of Famer. There's no doubt in my mind. He just has to get consistency. We have to get him. We have to get this guy a quarterback. And I don't want to hear about it. In 3 or 4 years, if we haven't found our quarterback and won some playoffs games, won a Super Bowl, or some combination of that, if we haven't done those things, we trade him. I love the guy, but you can't just always say, once a Raider, always a Raider, and keep him here for 17 years, and you never give the guy a chance to really get to the mountaintop. If we're not doing that for him, it shouldn't be about us. It should be about him at that point. Tyree Wilson restructured his contract, and I got to be honest with you, that was smart. That was smart. It really was. On his part, that was smart. He realizes he hasn't been giving us what he could have, what he should have, what he was, predicted to do. You take a pay cut. I think he's talking about Ezekiel Elliott, Bear. Ezekiel Elliott shouldn't even be in the NFL anymore. He can't find holes. He can't break free. He has no speed. He wasn't fast when he was young. So now he's not only not fast, he's not elusive, and he's slow. No thanks. Now, if you're telling me you're reporting that in the last 5 minutes that we signed Ezekiel Elliott, okay, I'd say, okay, once a Raider, let's go. Let's roll, see what he's got. But, because that would tell me the team probably sees something in him maybe that I don't know. Solomano Milo, what's up? Welcome to the show. Milo. Solomona Milo. I'm sure I butcher your name every show. I apologize. What do you think if we pick Sanders at first pick? I like it. I don't like this sort of character assassination that we do in every lead up to a draft. I just don't like it. Now, I will say this, though. He's got me Ezekiel Elliott on my mind now. I would say this, though. Shedeur Sanders has to stop acting like his dad. He just has to stop doing that. Now, if you want to act like your dad after you get your bag, that's fine. But you don't do it now. Now, the problem I have with what I'm saying is my advice is late because he's already acting like his dad, and he's already acting as though he's disgruntled because of how people are associating his dad's personality with his. Okay? Don't even do that. I'm not saying he doesn't have a right to. He does. He has every right to defend himself against the characterization that these people are doing to downgrade him for reasons to get him for less or to make other teams not pick him so that they can pick him. That is part of it. Sometimes a team will say they have no interest, they don't like his arm strength, blah, 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 blah. All of it's a lie. Every bit of it's a lie. So you got to be careful if you get mad at rosters, if some roster says, we scouted him, we don't like him at all. That sometimes is just smoke and mirrors. They just don't want someone else to get him before their pick comes, and then suddenly they get him. It happens in the draft. Every single draft, every single season, it happens. Every single one. There's a team that says, nope, we're not interested in that guy, Bear, not at all. And then they go, first pick, Bear. Happens all the time. For the record, I think Ginty will be better than Jacobs. I really like Ginty, just not at number 6. Well, Raider DeVillion, if you think he's going to be better than Josh Jacobs, how can you not like him at 6? I mean, think about what you just said. I mean, if you think he's going to be better than Jacobs, how could he not be valuable enough for 6? Jacobs, he's a Hall of Fame. He was all pro. He's a franchise guy. I mean, it hurt when we lost him. Let's be honest, because he was still in his prime. He was still killing it. He was showing no signs of slowing down, and he went right over to the Cheeseheads and the Packers and showed it. So it hurts. But at the same time, if you think he's going to be better than that guy, well then yeah, I'll take him at 3 or 4. I don't care. You have to remember, you and again, I know you know this. I know you're saying this. You want your investment to be there. In other words, Tyree Wilson, our defensive tackle, who just restructured to take less money, absolutely never, ever should have been picked in the top 10, and yet we picked him in the top 10. And there are those that argue that when you pick a guy in the top 10, sometimes they're a bust, but not because they don't have the ability, but because the fact that they were drafted where they were gets into their head. And they have a hard time justifying by saying, hey, I'm sorry, I'm not averaging 7 or 8 sacks. I'm getting 2 or 3. I should have 7 or 8 for where I was drafted, maybe 10, but, blah, blah. And they go through that. And there are those that really think that was what was going on with Tyree Wilson. And when you ask me, when a player restructures their contract and he does it, publicly and says, yeah, no problem, and shows no fuss about it, to me, that's a guy that's saying, honestly, I didn't give you guys what I've got yet. You guys drafted me in the first round, top 10. I've got to give you more. Here's some of this back. I'm going to go out there and tear people's heads off. I believe in myself. When that happens, let's restructure again. You know what I mean? And maybe pay me what I deserve down the road. And I think that could happen with him. I liked Tyree Wilson coming out of school. I just didn't like his skill set. I thought we should have taken him way lower because he's got no bend. He's not a flexible guy. He's kind of like Hulk smash every down. He just comes out of his stance and grabs a guy and tries to throw him or manhandle him. He doesn't have a good spin. He doesn't have a good speed. He's a power guy. And when you're a power guy coming out of school, you're going to run into power offensive linemen that are stronger and bigger than you are. You just are. There's nothing to it. There's just no way to avoid it. And I guarantee you, Max Crosby's run into guys stronger than him. He's run into guys that can block him. But he's found ways to beat them on plays, found ways to still be impactful, even against guys that shut him down. So he's got to learn how to do that. Curry hurt just his butt, though. Hey, Bear. I love you, Nisi Tweet. You're the best. You really are. I needed that laugh. Wilkerson redo his contract too and gave us more cap room. Yeah, and we already had a ton. Now we got some more after all the deals we did. It's good. I think Sanders will be the 6th pick, Bear, for the Raiders. Well, I would say this to you. If Cam Ward comes off the board like we think he's going to, I think someone is going to move up to take Cam Ward. I think Abdul Carter will probably go 2nd or 3rd, somewhere in there. And then 4, 5, 6. So now you're really the 3rd pick because those picks are going to go out of the way, and they're not going to get in the way of what we need. So now when you get to that point, does Shedeur Sanders fall to 6? Guys, I feel like it's likely he falls to 6. But at the same time, even if he's there, we're not the team in position to give him a deal and put him 3rd on the roster. Most of you know this, but when you have a rookie quarterback on your roster, owners want to know if he's good right away, because you're going to carry this guy through your franchise. Look what happened with Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes was a later round guy. He went to the Chiefs. He immediately started winning. Playoff games. Okay, so now he's set. Now the owner's like, yep, give him his new deal. 4 more years. We're going to keep him here for at least 8, 9 seasons. Let's roll. You got to have your guy do that in his first season or 2, and you can't find that out if he's sitting on the bench 2nd or 3rd in this case. Okay, let me see. Raider DeVillion's been giving me good ones, so I'll read another one. Because I think we can find something equivalent to Jacobs or better in the 2nd round. If we get Ginty, I expect him to be a dog, and I'll get behind him. Oh, okay, now that was perfect. I can't argue with what you said there, Raider D. I can't argue with what you said there, because there's definitely going to be other running backs in the 2nd round that are going to be available. There's no doubt about it. And what you said about picking a running back at 6 and that being too expensive for you, most NFL franchises will tell you now that they won't take a running back in the 1st round. They won't. It doesn't matter who it is. You know what I mean? They won't take running backs in the first round. I hated that you brought up those two guys because I had kind of a thing with Adrian Peterson. I don't know if you've heard about the Adrian Peterson off the football field stuff, and I'm not even going to go into it because it's disgusting, but he did some stuff off the field that to me ruined his career. You know what I mean? He'd still be running right now. I just think that guy was a god in football shoes, and if he had just been able to keep his nose clean, and he just stuck strictly to football, he'd still be running, and he'd probably be a Hall of Famer for sure. Jimmy Mata, what's up, brother? Welcome to the show. You guys, you got to see Jimmy Mata's cups. He does some really cool stuff where he puts Raider logos and your name and all that kind of stuff custom on chrome cups. It's really cool. You got to check him out. He's got some good stuff like that and other stuff too. Good night, Anna. Solomona, I'm doing it again. Solomona Milo. Even if I see your name tomorrow, I'm probably going to butcher it on purpose. It's a thing now. But Solomona, I would say to you, we can trade up. There's no doubt about it, but I don't know if there's anyone worth trading up for. In other words, if we wanted to move from 6 to, let's say, first or second, who is really worth that number 1 pick? It's the real reason why most people think that the number 1 pick is going to be, we don't know, because you don't know how that team is structured, if it wants to trade down and rebuild, or does it want to look at the future, that kind of thing. There have been people that think that the Titans, I think they still hold the number 1 pick, but if it's the Titans, and I think it is, the Titans already picked up Will Levis at quarterback just last season. And he had an okay year. I mean, it was actually pretty bad because he did some really bonehead things on the field. But outside of that, I mean, you just say to yourself, do you want to take back-to-back years of going for a franchise quarterback? You're going to have 2 guys on your roster? You know what I mean? And obviously the value of Will Levis will go down, but only some, you know what I mean? Because there's going to be other franchises that immediately say to themselves, Will Levis is young, he's got a cannon of an arm, and he was probably a subject of the Titans coaching staff that they didn't know how to handle him and didn't handle him well enough to make a star out of him. We feel like we could do differently like that. And there are rosters like that. Look at the Philadelphia Eagles. Just year after year after year after year, the Eagles are good. Year after year after year, the Eagles are good. You know what I mean? Something going on there. And if I'm a quarterback, I would love to land there. Good night, Don Wally D. Raiders. Chris Moffitt, what's up? Welcome to the show. Travis Hunter will be the 2nd pick. Mark, that's possible. I have a bad feeling something's going to happen with Travis Hunter. There's just something about Travis Hunter that throws me off. I'm just going to be honest. There's just something about him that throws me off. I feel like he feels like Reggie Bush. You know what I mean? Like everything you see about him in college is perfect, and then he's going to get to the pros, and he's a soft, pretty boy that doesn't like contact, complains and whines about the, injuries he gets and so on, like he should be, like we should be playing flag football because he's so, nice. That's how Reggie Bush was, and I have a bad feeling that Travis Hunter's kind of like that. You know what I mean? Just kind of like one of those guys that when he doesn't perform well, he's going to want to take his ball and go home and and not be mature and not want to blame it on himself and get better. You know what I mean? I don't know. And I have nothing to base this on. I'm being honest with you. I have nothing to base this on. I've been watching football for 35 plus years, okay? And I can tell you honestly, after 1 decade of watching football, I noticed that when new guys come into the league, they're just reprints of guys from the past. The only difference is that there's more music and cheerleaders and explosions and all that stuff and videos and rock music, but they're still just football players like anyone else. We've never seen a Reggie White. You know what I mean? Reggie White was a one of a kind that had that massive defensive tackle size, but could play defensive end because he still had incredible speed. Warren Sapp, guys like that. Aaron Donald, retired now, but obviously god of football. You need guys like that have size and presence, and I don't see that from Travis. He looks like a little guy. He looks like a little guy to me. I don't like little star. If I want star, I want big star, not little star. I don't like little stars, and dude is a little star. I don't have a nice way to say it. There really is no way to say Travis Hunter is a little wee guy, but I don't know. There's just something about him that's kind of little wee guy to me. He's little wee guy to me. I see little wee dude. All right, that's my show. Much love. Shout out to our armed forces, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, National Guard, Space Force. For all you do, the energy and love of this show is dedicated to your sacrifice. Active and veteran, much love. R8RBEAR! Woo! I'm already ready for hour number 2. Let's go! Turn the lights back on. Raider Nation all day and night. R8RBEAR! No, knock it off. Go to bed. I'm done. Okay? Like and subscribe and all that stuff. But I'm done. I'll see you tomorrow. R8RBEAR.